Hello again, I'm Miranda Kahn.
And I'm John Bopping. Coming up on Newsmax Now.
Attorney General Loretta Lynch promises reform at the Baltimore Police Department, where she says she'll start to try and clean things up.
And thousands come out to pay respect to New York City police officer Brian Moore, who was shot down in the line of duty. Why his brief career left such a lasting impact.
And World War II veterans take to the skies of Washington, D.C. to mark the 70th anniversary of the Allies' victory over the Nazis.
We welcome you in. Newsmax Now starts right now.
And thanks again for staying with us on this Friday, right before Mother's Day.
Oh, yes. Happy Mother's Day to all those moms out there. We're going to talk about Jeb Bush and his pick to be one of his Israeli advisors with J.D. Hayworth from Newsmax Prime in just a few moments. But first,
looking forward to that.
Let's start with Loretta Lynch, who is now turning her attention to the city of Baltimore's police department. She's going to launch this new civil rights investigation into the work done by that city's police force.
This investigation will begin immediately and will focus on allegations that Baltimore Police Department officers use excessive force, including deadly force, conduct unlawful searches, seizures, and arrests, and engage in discriminatory policing.
Well, a few days ago, Baltimore's mayor asked the Justice Department to investigate the police force after the death of Freddie Gray. Less than a month ago, Gray died from a spinal cord injury while he was in police custody.
Thousands of mourners gathered today for the funeral of New York City police officer Brian Moore. Moore was shot over the weekend in Queens after questioning an armed man who then fired into his car. He is the fifth NYPD officer to die in the line of duty since December. The accused shooter, Demetrius Blackwell, now faces murder charges. And 4 people died today after a small plane crashed onto a busy Atlanta highway. You can kind of see it right here. That smoldering wreckage is all that is left of that aircraft. Officials say the plane took off from a local airport before crashing onto Interstate 285. Police had to shut down lanes in both of the directions of the highway.
One of the 2 men who attacked that cartoon exhibit in Texas was apparently a big fan of Osama bin Laden. Elton Simpson made comments to his pastor at a church in Phoenix.
At first, like when he told me Osama bin Laden was a hero, I was surprised. When he told me that the radio show I have, if he was in charge of the government, would not be allowed on the airwaves, and I asked why, he said because we can't give poison to people. I was surprised.
Well, more surprising facts coming out. Malone says that he wasn't shocked that Simpson was involved in the shooting at the exhibit of those Muhammad cartoons in Texas. When former Florida Governor Jeb Bush wants some advice about the Middle East, he's turning to his brother, apparently. Several reports say that Jeb told a group of Manhattan donors that former President George W. Bush was his most influential advisor when it comes to Israel. Jeb is still considering a possible White House run, but a recent poll showed him well in the back of the pack among voters in Iowa. And the drought in California is forcing Starbucks to change its water plans. The company says it will have to find a new way to source its Ethos bottled water outside of California, which is where it's bottled now. Starting this month, Starbucks will move production to a plant in Pennsylvania and find a new source for that bottled water other than that of California. And after months of delays, the U.S. is now training Syrian rebels.
Combat training has begun for a company-sized group from the new Syrian forces. This program is critical and a complex part of our counter-ISIL efforts.
The Defense Secretary says about 90 trainees are in the first group, and a second group will start training in the next few weeks.
An American doctor learns firsthand just how insidious the Ebola virus can be. Dr. Ian Crozier contracted the disease in Sierra Leone and almost died from it, but the doctor recovered and was declared Ebola-free. But now we're learning the disease has invaded his left eye. 2 months after leaving the hospital, he was back with that persistent eye pain. The virus was found in fluid inside his eye. Doctors tried all sorts of treatments, and after a few months, the virus receded. President Obama honors victory in Europe today by remembering veterans who served during World War II.
We will be forever grateful for what these remarkable men and women did, for the selfless grace they showed in one of our darkest hours.
Today marks the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. And joining us now, go ahead. Joining us now is Newsmax Prime's J.D. Hayworth, we just are so excited that you're here. We just want to jump right in.
Ready to get
Me
to
first,
it.
JD.
Friendly amendment bill. World War II in Europe ended today. We
Correct.
still had to finish up
Right.
in the Pacific Theater. So
Yes, our
that's
victory
one
over the
more.
Nazis.
That's correct.
That's right. All right, well, we want to talk about some foreign policy news. We found out apparently Jeb Bush turning to his brother W when it comes to advice on Israel. What do you think about this, JD?
Well, it was interesting, the report, because it dealt with a private meeting of would-be donors in Manhattan. Of course, in public speeches, Jeb has distanced himself from GW, saying he's my brother, I love him, but I'm not going to depend on him. I'm going to be my own man. Well, you take a look at this team. General Michael Hayden was with us on Newsmax Prime earlier this week. He said that he's advising Jeb. So basically, you've got the Bush team reconstituting now for the younger brother.
Is that kind of a bad move?
Well, you can argue that that the resume and the experience of these folks is something that should be taken into account, and obviously there's a whole lot of experience there. This is just more of the problem with the Bush brand. I mean, if people are comfortable having this country become a regency instead of a republic, having families like the Bushes and Clintons in charge, then I guess that's the way we'll go. I've said repeatedly, I think all the Bush guys I know are charming fellows, but I'm not going to vote for a Bush for president again.
What about a Senator Lindsey Graham?
Oh,
He's talking
yeah.
about throwing his name into the ring.
How can I be charitable to my old friend from South Carolina? Perhaps it is an affliction that seems to concentrate amongst members of the world's most exclusive club, the U.S. Senate. The number of senators who wake up one morning and look in the mirror and decide they're looking at the visage of a president is well nigh overwhelming.
So does it have anything to do maybe with his stance on immigration that you're not I'm just throwing that out there because we just showed up
Lindsey's an old friend. We disagree on this, but Lindsey Graham is basically going to be in the South Carolina primary playing the role of what used to happen at the conventions with a favorite son. He's there to kind of disrupt the chances, arguably, to be a firewall for the aforementioned Jeb Bush. So we'll see what transpires there, but I believe Lindsey's aspirations, they'll probably end up disappointing him.
Well, he's saying there's a 98.6% chance that he's going to run.
That's even more than Carly Fiorina.
And I'm
99.9%
sure it ain't going to work out the way Lindsey wants it to.
But JD, we're looking at this. We have 6 declared candidates on the GOP ticket already. That number could double before maybe even the end of this month. Is there too many faces on is that a problem the GOP needs to start worrying about, having too many faces on those debate stages?
Well, it could even triple before it's all over with. I don't know that it may be logistically a problem in terms of setting up the debates, but again, I think it's a healthy thing to have a lot of people involved. Maybe I'm not so keen on Lindsey thinking he can pull it off, but yet he's got a point of view that I guess will appeal to some folks. So we'll see. In general, I think the more candidates, the better, and it's a long way between now and November of 2016.
Who do you think among those long list of candidates has the strongest chance of beating out Hillary?
Well, again, this is a moving target.
But we were just going to say, knowing the candidates that have actually declared today.
Well, we are seeing changes in those numbers right now in Iowa and New Hampshire, where Hillary is falling behind the likes of Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and some of the other candidates. Mentioning those guys does not suggest that any of them should be the nominee. I think there's such a long period of time here and so many variables at work that we need to wait and see. In terms of the launches this week, I'll limit myself to the 3 people who've officially gotten in the race. I thought Carly Fiorina had a pretty good week. Dr. Ben Carson had a good week. I thought the most polished presentation, which was heavy on personal appeal as well as experience, was Governor Mike Huckabee. So I give them all high marks, probably Huckabee with the best start, but then again, he'll be considered more of a traditional candidate because he's a broadcaster, communicator, pastor, and former governor.
Well, we have to think about where things were, in 2011 at this time in the GOP field and who was at the top of the polls. We'll talk about that in a little bit more when we come back here on Newsmax Now.